Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are with Cory MacKinnon, who is a beautiful starseed and on a mission to assist humanity truly step into their divine blueprint. Cory, hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Loren. Thank you so much for having me on and for everything you do for the community and for the world. I appreciate you.
Well, we are so happy to meet you. We want to learn a little bit about your mission. You are truly on a new journey at this point. Tell us what's up with your life.
So for right now in this stage, it's about really what the soul's expression is for myself and how that is communicated through my work and also through every encounter that I have in my life, and how we can all begin to connect at a soul level with one another and begin to activate the blueprints of the divine ascension, of the organic ascension of Gaia, but also how we can begin to come into this new form of expression, and how that occurs for us multidimensionally, but also in our, not only our day-to-day lives, but our creations. It's been one of those for me that I've noticed that every aspect that I work through in integrating and activating within myself has a different form of expression. And so for me now, it's taking this and sharing my wisdom, my truth, my love, my heart, my soul with the world in however that wants to be expressed organically, in offering an opportunity to hold a doorway open for others to be able to step into that expression for themselves and to find what their unique gifts are so they can go out and share that. And we can continue to share the magic through the divine orchestration that is this pathway that we're all in right now. So.
Well, thank you for your work. You literally are mobile in the sense that you are a grid worker and you're doing tremendous work in that mission to connect on a soul level. All right, so that is really cool. Share with us your awakening process. You are here as an energy worker and a guide for so many. You actually help to activate DNA.
Yes.
So as we hear your story, what was the awakening point for you, or were there multiple points along the way?
So there's two main points that come in for myself. The first one was 9/11, 2001. When that occurred, that was a moment of witnessing something that I had never experienced in my world. And seeing that live on television brought about a level of something was going on. There was something up. And that's what started to really begin the process of me of discovering truth.
Now, I want to ask quickly, because you're a young guy.
Yes.
How old were you?
I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. So yeah, I was 13 years old when that occurred. I was in 8th grade, I believe. And I just remember the impact that it had on everyone in my reality. It had an impact on them at some level, whether it was someone, they knew someone who was there, they were a veteran. And to see that impact, for me, it triggered a level of a new pathway opening up for myself that was really about discovering more. It started as trying to find what the external truth was, because there was all these things that were happening. But that was the first big catalytic awakening for me, that something wasn't right and that there was a change that needed to occur. That was kind of the seed that was planted, that there might be a way to be able to embed this change within the world at a micro level, in between our connections, in between how we relate to people, showing more compassion. That could be the catalyst for blossoming this beautiful garden that is the New Earth trajectory. The second level of awakening happened for me. It was in about 2017. So when 2012 hit and we had the big shift of the Mayan calendar, I went to I went into a process of deep sleep and deep integration as the light body started to come online and the soul blueprint started to come online. Now, at the time, I didn't know that's what it was. There was, at the time, trying to discover what was occurring with me, I kept going to doctors to try to seek out information of what was happening. And there was all these diagnoses that kept getting put on me. And a part of my pathway was walking through the behavioral health field while recognizing that there was no solutions in there. There was temporary solutions for myself, but there was nothing that I found that could really stick or really resonated with me. So in 2017, I went through a very big walk-in experience and a mixture of Kundalini awakening as a result of substance abuse. And it's something that's a part of my pathway that I share openly because I hold no judgment or shame for that. It was important for me. I had a near-death experience that brought in a soul aspect. And when that soul aspect came in and through, my entire world shifted within 48 hours. I lost everything. I lost my home, lost all my friends, lost my family. And here I was left all by myself on the streets trying to figure out what to do. And that's when I began to build my soul-aligned reality. And that's what started the process of me of being an angel on the streets, right? I got this huge activation and it was out to go be that kind heart and to experience another level of life, to gain more gratitude and also more soul integrity and to learn so many different pieces that I can't even begin to unpack it right now. But that's what catalyzed my journey into becoming an advocate in the behavioral health field for people with low income and for homeless individuals. And that's what actually started my energy work and my abilities coming online. And when this occurred and I was advocating for myself that I was seeing things, I was hearing things, I was sensitive to energy, there was always a label or a diagnosis put onto it. And for me, I knew that I had to find my own path, that the path that I was walking wasn't serving me. And I started to go through a level of shaman sickness to bring myself into alignment. So the universe gifted me with being able to just remove everything, left with nothing but soul and with self, and to go, what do you want and how do you want to navigate your journey? And from then on, it's been constant movement and acceleration to discover more of who I am, but also what I'm here to do and how I express that through my creations and express that to the world in my authentic truth.
So indeed, you truly are going through this journey and walking this journey.
Yes.
And let's go back to the soul aspect coming in and your experience there and what that was like, losing everything. Was that almost like your higher self lining up everything to absolutely make you break out of those old patterns?
Very much so. And it was because I was in such a detrimental situation to my soul that was almost the evacuation route to pull me out and to pull me into a place of safety within myself, but to rediscover myself. So it was a catalytic divine intervention that was the one domino that needed to get knocked down to begin to unravel my pathway. And it was one of those things I had to learn about on my journey, is that it helped me recognize that there was never loss, but there was only gain and redirection. And it was really to have such a catalytic moment happen for me to redirect my life. It helped me to ease the bumps of the redirective currents that keep occurring for us. And especially living this nomadic life right now, it's like when things start to shift in another direction and we have timelines that have cleared and new pathways opening up, it's assisted in being able to know that when we're flowing with the heart compass and with the soul drive, that there's this deep level of support, even when we don't feel we're supported. Because that was the thing. It was, can you come into your trust and can you walk in your faith that you're loved and you're held? And from that moment on, there was many situations where I was facing experiences that weren't healthy for me. And the universe always redirected, always guided me out of it safely by giving me, premonitions, giving me almost like prophecy dreams, or being able to see into the future. And that was one of the things that was where's the way leading to, and beginning to learn what was for me and wasn't for me. And activated this level of discernment within me to where now I know what's aligned and what's not, but also it helped me to know that even in the trenches of having to do that level of light working in the trenches, that I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm supported, and I can assist other people regardless of where I'm at. So with zero money or all the money in the bank account, I still have a voice and I still have a truth, and sharing that compassion with others can go a long way. And so it really, there was so much that came from it. But yes, make a long story short, it was a divine intervention, and I've had many since then. But it was the one that really, it brought about a new level of resilience within myself and strength and courage that I never found before and could never find being stuck at home and asleep on my bed. So.
Wow, that's wonderful to hear how you were able to successfully make that choice, make the vibrational shift.
Yeah.
You know, it's not so easy in that situation. Well, let's call it the dark night of the soul, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some would sink into depression. First of all, how long did it take you to begin to recognize that instant choice to love, or to live in the heart flow? And I know it's probably phases,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, in these crucial times and hours, maybe even just the first 24 hours or 48 hours, when was that light of your soul beginning to shine through to you?
So it actually was, to reflect back, it was immediate when it first kicked on after this experience. It was immediate. The thing was, for me, was that the situations I was placed in were what I would call violent situations. And I'm not built with that within my DNA. I'm built in love. And so the choice point for me was, what do I do? Do I go to putting up my defenses and putting up my shields, or do I open my heart and show that? And while it confused a lot of people, it was one of those things that it took a while to step into, because for a while I had to wear masks, right? And that was a part of the decloaking myself, was putting on this armor and showing up as something that I wasn't. And every step of the journey, when I was shown what I wasn't and how I was portraying myself as something that I wasn't, I began to remove the layers. And so the process is constantly just dissolving the layers and exposing more of the light, right? And even through this level of the dark soul, the dark night of the soul, which is just dark night of the human, as many of us know, the soul isn't dark. But to get the light to shine through, it took a while. I still had a fog of medications. I was having to come off a lot of substances that I was on. You know, being in psych wards, things like that, it was really difficult. But I found that when I encountered people that were like me in the hospitals and in rehabs and institutions and even on the street, when they presented a problem, there was this organic solution of light that came through me naturally. And that was a part of me finding my light, was through service. And there was times where wisdom would just flow out of me out of nowhere. I'm like, where did this come from? Right. And it felt like something outside of me, when actually it was an egg within me that got cracked open from this experience. And every individual that I encountered brought more of that light through. So I couldn't say necessarily that there was a linear time frame of when it occurred, but the experience organically allowed the light to shine through more and more. And that's what the path constantly is. It's just dissolving more layers, discovering more energetic truth of myself, and then continually expressing that and practicing it over and over and over, and just showing up as the light as much as I can. And yes, I have my days, as we all do, especially as we're going through so much shifting right now in the collective. And for me, that's when the balance point in this too has been practicing the self-care, taking the time away, loving and nurturing the soul, loving and nurturing the body, loving and nurturing the DNA, and finding out that it's now more encompassing other than just the soul. It's the unified self, the light body, the higher self, the physical body, the emotions, the mental body. How can I really nurture and love myself through that process as well? So it's been this balance point of navigating that service and allowing the reflection to allow more light to show up, but also to take that time away to really nurture myself and to find what that balance is in my own reality as I'm showing up in service.
Beautiful. That really is a key, and you've actually cracked that code and are living it.
Yes.
So live that divine soul blueprint. You help others do this as well.
Yes.
So when you work with people and you activate them, what's going on there? What do you see, and how are you treating them, or what's going on?
So everyone is different that I encounter. And it's interesting because working with a client, I don't have a set routine or a linearity. It's a lot of that the shamanistic work of almost meeting where the person is at. So what I see is a lot of people come, for me, a lot of the clients that I work with have experienced trauma in their life, have experienced heavy gaslighting, have gone through very abusive situations. And what I see presented a lot is that, first off, the encounter is working, even though they might be in a 40 or a 50-year-old body, right? A lot of the times we're working with the 7-year-old self, the 8-year-old self, the 10, the 15-year-old. And so a lot of the approach is looking beyond the form and going into the energetics of what aspect is showing up and giving that aspect what it needs. And so sometimes I have to play the villain to the ego, and I have to break down that programming and come in with surgical precision to make sure we can declutter all that programming. Sometimes it's as simple as being that soft, kind, gentle heart and being that compassionate witness to what they've been through, and to let them know, I see you, I feel you, I hear you. Because sometimes that's just what we need. But when we begin to allow that level of opening up occurring, we begin to see that there's been a lot of interesting stuff happening at a DNA level for all of us, especially those of us that are coming out of taking heavy medications and heavy prescriptions. There's been a lot of reversals and a suppression of the DNA. So the best thing to do for me is, when I encounter the individuals, to see, where's their soul at? Do we have fractals and pieces and aspects that we need to bring back? Because a lot of us that have experienced trauma have been fractaled off and stuck in other dimensions and all these interesting things that have occurred. And so it's about getting the soul entirely online to the greatest level and degree that it can, but also beginning to witness, where are they at with their blueprints, right? Can we upgrade their blueprint? And as a result, their reality will upgrade, because the templates are constantly shifting and changing. We see new templates coming out almost every month now. And to keep up with all the light codes and all the information, the best thing to do is, for me, is to let's get the person updated, upgraded to the most organic pathway for themselves. But then the power is in the individual to shift their reality. And that's a big thing that I do, is I tell people, don't give your power to me. The power is within you. It exists within you. So it's about getting the light on again, getting the heart open, getting the DNA online to its organic functioning, and then giving the tools to the individual to be able to align their reality themselves. And this is where the real work starts to come in. Because for us now, we have to make that choice. What relationships do we need to let go of? What habits do we need to let go of? Do we need to move? Do we need more freedom in our life? Like for me, when this happened, I needed to get an RV because I needed to be able to move with that freedom flow, with the mission and the trajectory. Another thing too is aligning people with resources. That's a big one, because while I might serve as a role of being able to bring this stuff online, I also have built a beautiful community of other energy workers and other light workers that we can begin to now build their network, right? So it's not to say that I have all the solutions. I've got one perspective. And if that individual needs another perspective, for instance, like I see this a lot with mothers. I have a lot of moms that come to me, and I'm like, I'm a young male. I don't know what it's like to be a mother. So let's have you work with an energy worker who might be more understanding from a mother role. So one of those things for me, and I learned this from the behavioral health field, was we had no continuity of care. It was like, here you are. Oh, you need help? Let's just cut you off and send you off on your way. So for me, it's also noting that I have a community of other people that I work with, other light workers, grid keepers, gatekeepers all over, and being able to make sure that whatever the individual needs, that we can try to meet that to the best of our ability, or begin to align them in a direction where they can find better care for themselves, whatever it might be.
And it's beautiful. Here you are, a light worker and a grid worker and an energy worker, yet you are also a bridge in the collective to this new way.
Yes.
So what an honor for you to walk your path with such bravery and make it through to the incredible light and to be fully on your path and on your mission. So we talked about that choice that you had, that light coming in within. And the key is the heart open and the DNA living in an organic way. So I know there's so many, even when you ask some what their most favorite thing is or what brings them joy,
Mhm.
sometimes that's hard for people. But what do you say for those who need to begin to open their heart? What does that mean to be following that organic blueprint and the flow?
Play, play, play with your world. What does it mean to play? A lot of us have forgotten this, and this is where the deep inner child work occurs. And I see this for a lot of us is that for a very long time, because the organic realities, like even myself, to be able to anchor fully into an organic reality is a long process. And I've had glimpses where I've been there, and then I have to come back down and do my work to align to that. To step into that, the organic realities are very expressive and expansive. They're not constrictive. They're very freeing. And there's a lot of play. And a lot of that alignment that Gaia has brought forward for us in the energetics and the templates has been, how can we play all day, be ourselves, and be able to make a living and to do things in that play. So the biggest thing to open our heart is to begin to play. But also the organic representation of the elements and the elementals is what is key here. Nature and nurture, the true divine mother expression that is available to us all for free, right? And I understand that through 2020, there was a lot of things where we couldn't do that, but I'll state that if it's important enough for you, we will all make it a priority to connect to that organic nature. And that's a lot of that Rainbow Bridge DNA coming online for us, is to be able to step off the screen for a little while, go into the organic expression of Mother Earth, and to allow her to support us. And this is where a big resource for myself finding this has been that it's free and it's right outside. All I have to do is allow myself to just lay flat and to be with Gaia or to be supported by a tree. That's helped so much in opening up the heart. Another thing too was I had to begin to authentically express myself to others too, and to begin to allow love in. I had to allow, because a lot of a trauma response with being so radically independent is, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to figure it out all on my own. A very big masculine distortion that I've had to walk through. So another heart opening thing was I had to allow love into my life. I had to open up the door and allow myself to receive the love of others. I also had people on my journey that really assisted me in opening up my heart by stating, it's okay to be love. You know, they told me it's safe to be the master. This was a big one that came through a little while ago from I had a higher self surrogate that walked in and said, Cory, it's safe to be the master. It's safe to be powerful. And that no one ever, even though it was etheric, right? And it was that higher self expression coming in and intervening, it gave me the opportunity to find another level of love for who I am beyond the wounding, beyond all of the navigation point that I had through walking 3D life. And so a part of that too was that another heart opening experience for me was I had to recognize that I and all of us in this world are living in a new vibrational bandwidth. Shut off the TV for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Shut off the media. Go out into your world. I always tell this people, go out into your reality and tell me what you see. And I find most people say they live in a beautiful world as soon as they shut off the fear programming. And that was another thing about heart opening for me, was I had to stop diving into other people's stories. The biggest phrase that keeps coming through is not my monkey, not my circus, right? And while we are here in a collective experience and we are all going through this at some level or some degree, a part of my heart opening was I had to walk in my truth and begin to say no more, right? To all of the stories and the programmings that are getting thrown at me at 150 miles an hour every single day, right? And so I had to kind of, I'm getting this vision of a baseball player, right? Knocking those things out of the park, knocking them away. and also having to stop playing the game, and recognizing that all of our realities, these holographic realities that we build, are all based upon belief systems. And so for all of us, we have to find for ourselves what that belief system is that creates unification, harmony, and flow for ourselves. And that's when we can begin to really see that heart-centered expression catch up with us in our reality as well. So there's a lot to it, but the first thing, though, big time, is connecting with Gaia and really keeping it simple. And for me, has been crystals too. I work with Andara crystals a lot, and for me, these have been the most heart-opening, playful friends to have, and I keep collecting them because, for me, I'm paying for a frequency, and if it's going to keep my heart open and keep me in my love, it's worth it. So,
a very valuable investment. Absolutely. Wow. All right. So I'm sure we're going to go play and enjoy nature. I think it's a daily requirement, even if we have to just step outside into a little area where if some have limited nature. What I am very much aware of is a newfound greater love of nature in the collective than ever before in this past year, as it was one of the few places that people could get to. And we're just seeing even polls of the collective say 76% in my state want more trails, outdoor places, things like this. So we really are returning to that beauty of nature. And right now there's birds outside that are speaking with us on a whole other dimension.
yes.
Well, Cory, I wanted to go back and talk more about your really taking command of your energy and your discernment, building your discernment. You mentioned that you work with people on, those who are in trauma or have to deal with gaslighting. Now,
Yes.
gaslighting's an interesting thing because many of us in um, the polarity of what's going on, we can find that we're gaslighting ourselves, even with so much information out there. So you mentioned that you had a higher self walk-in experience. And in my personal opinion, this connection is the most important connection. There's no going back once you hear those voices or receive that information. Can you share with us a little bit more about that walk-in of your higher self, what that was like?
Yeah. So first off, it's interesting because for me, it's a past life. And so it's because there was such a great catalytic awakening, and I don't want to go too gory into detail, but it was I was on the last breaths of my life, and a spirit walked in, gave me a kiss on the lips, and said, "It's not your time."
This was your near-death experience?
Yes. Yes. And what had occurred from that was all of a sudden, this eternal glow came over me, and I was fine. I was breathing normal. It's like nothing had ever happened. And for me, what happened was I got up and the sun was rising, and I walked around my street barefoot, and it was the first time I was really connected to the world. The birds were chirping, and there was this, it was like a new dawn. It's something had broken through, and it shook me awake. And for me, what had started to occur, because I started to see before this light bodies showing up, and I had Pleiadians showing up, and at the time I didn't know they were Pleiadians. And I was having these moments where, because for me it was very galactic in the beginning, where I had things that would stretch reality and bend time and move things around and kind of wake me up to the fact that there's more going on. And it really at the time freaked me out. So then when I started to receive these intuitive messages and these intuitive insights, at first I didn't believe it, right? Because for me, I had a behavioral health diagnosis. So it was, Cory, you're crazy. Cory, you're this. All of those stories and themes started to come up. But then I saw everything I was seeing come to life. And I saw myself getting pulled out of situations that were going to be very detrimental to myself. And I started to feel that support. And when I went to others asking questions about this and trying to figure out what was going on, no one had answers that resonated with what I knew within. And that was my moment where I have to trust this internal voice that's speaking through to me, and it's guiding me perfectly, and it's directing me. So in the beginning, it was very strange. And to begin to speak this stuff out in public was very interesting with other people. It was an important part of integrity and knowing who I am by sharing this with others. And then I found that a lot of people that I worked with had very same experiences. They were just too scared to talk about it, right? And so we all began to relate, like, wait a minute, there's something more going on here. And while it was strange at first, I found a level of comfortability in beginning to do research. So for me, I started to look at indigo children, rainbow children, crystal children. What is it to be a starseed? And those messages resonated with me. And how I knew it resonated was it brought me to tears when I read about it. There was this level of truth that unlocked, that opened up the floodgates of all the emotion that was blocking me from being able to discover who I am. And this still occurs because it keeps evolving and shifting at greater and greater levels as I embody more aspects and more light. It keeps being revealed to myself. And that's the great revelation, is discovering this stuff. And in the beginning, while I felt like I was crazy, I recognized I had to go through that because I knew there was going to be others that would come up to me with the same problem. And I knew that I held the solution because I walked through this with the path. And so for me, I found others that did the same, that were like, I started to get led. Once this occurred, naturally, I didn't need to do anything. I was led to other energy workers. I was led to people in the behavioral health field that were working with energy and were working with psychic abilities. I started to meet tarot readers. It naturally unfolded. The universe always brought forward the master when I needed it to guide me through that leg of the journey. And once that leg of the journey was gone, I embodied another level of mastery. And then I was on to just keep meeting the master in everybody. So.
That's good. Were there any moments, I mean, did it take you, so, when you had that experience and it was just so beautiful, you immediately started making those new choices, or were there maybe a few steps where you didn't follow the guidance and that was a lesson in itself?
Both. There was a radical transformation overnight where a lot didn't resonate anymore. The music I listened to just didn't serve anymore. The people, the places, the friends. A lot of that for a while was I didn't go straight into the listening. It was like it would come in with the voice of God and thunder when the message needed to get through. And then I learned that, hey, maybe I should, because I had those moments where I'd end up in these situations and here it came going, you need to get out of here. And the reality would collapse, something would occur, and I would have to realign. And for me, that was a part of my process to go, okay, I need to listen to this voice full time, right? I need to listen to this voice full time. And so there was some changes that occurred naturally, such as friend groups, belief systems, the stuff that I was interested in, because that was a big part of this walk-in experience. It was just like overnight, as my parents stated, they stated to me in the very beginning, it was almost Nobel Peace Prize winning how radical the transformation was for me. But once again, there was still aspects of me that were still anchored into the old, that were comforts, creature comforts, friend groups, wanting to feel safe, where I was attaching still to things that didn't serve. And the universe really quickly learned how to highlight that in my reality and collapse it very quickly so I could redirect no matter how much it hurt. So.
No matter how much it hurt. So the overnight changes and everything that happened with your family and all of it, the radical transformation. I mean, how did you identify that that was your higher self and not another soul?
I didn't know. I really did not know at the time what was occurring. It was one of those things later on that I started to learn about walk-ins, and it made a lot of sense to me and it resonated to me. And so for me, it's one of those, we're still, even to this, I get moments of clarity where I'm like, it was a walk-in, it was a higher self intervention. Either way, it's like there's still this level of wanting to put a framework on an experience to be able to express it. Either way, it was a catalytic awakening for myself. And I'm still, even in my own records, when I go into my own Akashic records, it's interesting because as I start to do this work, there's things that will be revealed to me where I'll only get portions of it. But for me, when I started to learn about walk-ins, that's where it really resonated because of how quick the transfer was overnight, but also how accelerated my awakening has been since then. I've been on the fast track since that occurred. And as a result, there's been a lot more tests and a lot more initiations at a very accelerated rate. And as a result, I've been constantly having to adapt to this constant study of expansion. And that for me was when I began to do the research about walk-ins and hear about it. That's when it resonated, but I also started to meet other walk-ins and I saw the resemblance. I saw the similarity in these pieces of us that come through that almost have never been here before. And to adjust to living in this density with the vibration that it holds and the mystery and the wisdom that it embraces and that it shares with the world. I found that when I met other walk-ins, we had this eye-to-eye similarity that we saw, and that's when I began to see the resonance within this. And yet, you know, even in my own, just what I've been walking through on my journey, there are moments where I go, was it a walk-in? You know, doing the kind of the questioning. And the thing for me is that I know deep within myself that something left and something new arrived, whether it was an increased connection to the higher self, or it was this new level of master that came forward and through. I've learned that through this, because this even comes up with the gaslighting thing for all of us that have gone through this, is to know that what we went through was important, and there's a new level of abilities and gifts that are coming forward and through these experiences that are catalytic for our awakening, that are going to assist other people in unlocking their new level of truth as well.
That is the most important thing that all of us should be doing. So you right there, you know, when you close your eyes and you tune in, you're speaking from the heart, and that's where we all can operate. And when we do, that's a beautiful world. I see that world. And you know, we've learned that everything, you know, these guides that we have, they really all are our higher self, an aspect in a way. So we could put whatever label on it that we need to, whether it's a soul braid, we've heard of those instances too, but it's a higher level of you.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful experience, and it has literally changed your life. And that's the mission of love. That's why we incarnated. So when you went through all of this, I know that judgment, caring about what other people think, maybe that's not a program so deeply in you, but judgment, self-judgment.
Yes.
In certain aspects, that's always a big thing to overcome. But sometimes we do judge ourselves and others. What do you do for that?
So what I do is I pull forward. So judgment is a big one that we notice in the leap into the fifth dimension. Like fourth dimension's like, let's clear all the war and all the judgment and all that discord. And that's been one that I work through in paces. But what I do is I call it forward as, so I think of judgment days, right? Like, so the judgment day, the review, the life review is our time to sit down with all of our aspects of us and to review our life. So I take the judgment and I bring it forward and I listen to it. Because the thing is with judgment or with any sort of programming or emotion that's coming forward that we're having difficulty clearing, is to recognize it's got something that it needs to say to us. So I listen to what the judgment is, right? And respect that it exists in my reality and that it's showing up, and that this judgment is God in its form, expressing something to me intuitively that I need to work through. And so what I begin to do is I begin to love that part of me that judges, especially judging myself. The biggest judgment I've always held, and I continue to dissolve, is judgment of myself, judgment of my gifts, judgment of my abilities, judgment of my pathway. And so what I can begin to do is to begin express the love for this part of me that's doing this, and begin to nurture it and care for it. And this is where, even being in a male form, having to learn what it is to be the mother and to mother these emotions again. It's a part of reparenting, because a lot of my judgment is held in the inner child programming. So as soon as I can learn to nurture this part of me and to embrace it and to love it, I'm I'm cuddling it back into the light and it's ascending with me. And it's an important part of expansion in this reality is we're living in integration now. So we can't be separating off these emotions and compartmentalizing them anymore. They have to come in and ascend with us. And so the biggest thing for me is nurturing it, loving it, but also seeing where I hold it within my body and every day making the declaration and the command to clear judgment at whatever level I'm ready to. It's a process of surrender. I'm surrendering the ego over to the higher self. I'm surrendering these programs, frequencies, emotions, wounds, traumas, just giving it all away, right? And that's been an important part of liquidating my reality, is going through and every day making the conscious choice to surrender, declaring that I'm going to live free of judgment, that I'm going to live in my freedom, I'm going to live in my sovereignty, and I'm going to live in my truth, that I'm going to live in a heart-centered expression, and that I'm going to continue to serve my source in the highest vibrational pathway possible for myself. And the biggest thing has been declaring it over and over, and it's been an important one for reprogramming for myself. Also, writing my new story. That's been a big one for me that I've been sharing a lot with people recently, is write your new story and repeat it over to yourself every single day. And pretty soon, the belief systems and the reality will catch up, but it really is about repetition and really softly nurturing those parts of us that are still holding on to that polarity.
Yes, that's where we become immaculately aware, and you assist people in doing that. And we've talked about the divine soul blueprints and being in alignment with the soul and expressing the soul. How do we access our divine soul blueprints?
Gaia, the living libraries within our DNA. That connection point for me served as and there's a lot of way showers and guides that speak of this openly. For me, it was my work with the crystalline core of Mother Earth and working with my DNA to open up that blueprint and to discover what it entails. What many people don't recognize, and I love to share this with people, is that 9/10 of universal law is about intention. If you set the intention, universe, I'm ready. I am ready to see what my soul blueprint is. Show it to me. I'm ready. Your universe will communicate that to you. However it's going to be expressed to you. So for me, it's really been about going really deep within, closing the eyes, going within the heart, and speaking to the DNA too. So the blueprint, I find, beyond the soul blueprint, is working with the DNA blueprint as well, helps with the soul expression. I found this really interesting connection that I'm discovering between the DNA and the soul. But it really is about going deep within and stepping into that connection. And a really good way to connect to our soul that a lot of people don't know is you just put your hand over your heart and your soul, and breathe with these connection points of reconnection. And then fill up with the light of the soul. And just simply ask and then listen. It really is about, for us, being able to go really deep within, become that observer, the neutrality. What does the soul want to express to you? The soul, the body, the DNA, the higher self will all communicate with you. It's the mind that gets in the way. And so for a lot of us, it's learning, how can I create a meditative practice to quiet the mind? Do I need to step into breath work? Do I need to do more yoga, right? How can this happen? For me, it was walking meditations too. Being so overly active that I've been my whole life. And kind of having that starseed ADHD complex that a lot of us, the starseeds, have. I had to get the physical body in motion to get the mind to shut off, right? So for me, I began to format and find this new way of how to go deep within and to just really listen. And for a big thing for me to listen was I had to learn to shut off the distractions, because our world is built up with seeking the external to find these answers. And so I had to start shutting off social media. I had to stop giving my power away to other people to provide these answers for me. And I had to learn how to go really deep within, even if it took 5 or 6 hours of connecting to hear that voice. It was important enough for me to create that space and that awareness to go within and to listen. And so for all of us, it's as simple as just asking the soul and creating that communication link and that dialogue, and the soul will always speak forward, whether it's a clear feeling, a clear knowing, clear hearing, clairvoyance. It really is about knowing too what gifts we have to work with and how we can work with them. Because a lot of us will go, and I've seen this happen with many, oh, I can feel and I can sense, but I can't see, so I don't have abilities. Well, for us, it's learning to work with the tools that we have and going, what gifts and abilities do I have within me naturally here now? Am I a feeler? Am I a knower? Am I a seer? Am I a hearer? Do I taste? And learning what the translation is of our gifts and abilities. And that's it's a lot of alone time, and also connecting with people that had these abilities too, and asking what that translation point was for every individual. And for me, it was a process of feeling that I had to walk through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing your process and your journey. Really incredible and inspiring for others who are going there too. And that's the work that you bring forward and the service that you bring. You actually do personal, private sessions that help people get attuned to their divine soul blueprint, or more aware of it and fully on and activated as well. Please share with us what's in your special offer. We do have your personal session, but there's some other things as well that are tools that people can use.
Yes. So we're going to do a soul activation where essentially with whoever shows up in the group, the way that I work is I show up in the field and I go, what are the souls presenting to me right now that they need for the activation? Is it going to be bringing more of our DNA online? Are we going to be working with our gifts and abilities? Finding value of the soul expression. For me, a lot of my work is with light language, and that's been a lot of my natural soul expression is through that. So we're going to be doing a soul activation. And it's one of those where there's no human intention here set with what we're going to bring online. It's whatever the souls need at that time that we're going to bring forward and through for everyone. The second package that I have available actually is going to be a combination of the soul activation, as well as I have a 12-strand DNA template and origin code activation that I recorded a few months ago that was bringing our founder race DNA online, bringing the root race genetics, and opening up more of our starseed origins. As a result of that, when we bring on the origin templates for ourselves, we get greater access and greater insight to what our origins are, what our gifts are, what our abilities are at a galactic level, at an elemental level. And so that will be available as well in the second package. And then, of course, in the third package, we'll have a combination of all that as well as a private session. So it'll be a one-on-one session. These one-on-one sessions are unlimited on time. I go until the universe says we're done. So whether it's 3 hours or 5 hours long, we're going to work with bringing you up to speed, getting your DNA online, getting the templates online in their highest vibrational form, getting your soul online, working with your light body. And then there is an option to be able to have a follow-up session. And if we need to split those sessions into 2 sessions as well, I'm always working with the person's higher self. So it's never fixed or limited to just one thing. I'm in coordination with your universe, and our universes are working together to make sure that you're getting what you need on your journey, whether it takes 6 hours or a couple sessions to get it done.
Thank you for that. All right. I mean, you do a lot, from clearing timelines, past lives, or karma, again, activating the soul or the light body,
Yes.
or even a light encoded activation sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about that comes through you. This is light language?
Yes. So it's light language. It's not channeled. It's actually from within with my soul aspects. And there's many different dialects that come forward and through depending upon what the person needs. So we do Akashic record clearings as well. So I can go in, and I say we because it's interesting. Even saying we here, the soul aspects will come forward and we will clear timelines off of your field. One of my big things I've worked with is working with people with a lot of past life clearings, especially having a lot of the Grail lines in my record and working through a lot of the Grail and the Templar and all of those aspects. That's been a big process to clear. And so that's one of my passions, is clearing out all of our past life stuff and rejuvenating those soul aspects, clearing the imprinting out and bringing it back in its purified form. But the light language comes through. So it's a mixture of, I will use my hands and commands, but a lot of the light language is from within. So it's not channeled from above. It's actually my soul coming through and expressing, and an important part of my soul expression.
And this is your role and your service in assisting in the anchoring and the realization of New Earth. And
Yes.
for that, we are grateful. So thank you for this, Cory. That special offer is available right here on this webpage. And we invite those who wish to work with Cory to get registered and sign up. It is a beautiful time with you, and you are unlimited in the length of your session. That really is truly beautiful. Do you record those sessions as well, or maybe that's not necessary?
If the person requests it, yes, we can record them and send them. So it's if the person requests it, if they don't, it's really entirely up to them.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Again, we invite our viewers and listeners to check that out. Cory, when you envision New Earth, what does that look like to you?
It's golden. There's a lot of, for me, the vision is what I see almost as Lemuria. That's just the sense I get from New Earth. But for me right now, it's a feeling, and it's a feeling of that peace, that harmony, that deep compassion for one another, that sacred respect, that honor, that integrity that we all hold. And what I see is a mosaic as well. I see us as all these different colors coming together to paint the beautiful picture that is our world. And so for me, beyond that, it's a feeling, and I keep following that feeling. And I'm just excited to see what blossoms as a result of all the beautiful work that all of us are doing at every single level, and to see what unfolds for all of us.
Keep following that feeling. New Earth is a vibration. And once we all get there, we'll all behave in that vibration, express in that vibration. I see that New Earth too, and I know I'm not alone. Thank you, Cory MacKinnon, for this beautiful, beautiful episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.